with that, I'm going to ask our four candidates that are going to speak to us today. Carlos Zamora and Teresa Mallory, I'm going to ask them to come up and take their seats up here. And they both are running for county treasurer. Steve Matheson, who is our present county treasurer, has chosen not to run again. So both Carlos and Teresa are going to tell us why we should vote for them. Okay, so let's welcome Carlos and Teresa. Yeah. And then we have Bela Kovacs, who is our incumbent county assessor, and Allison Knapp, who is running for county assessor, and both of them, let's welcome them. And the way we're going to do this, I'm going to go down and Carlos will start. He's going to give us like a 10-minute narrative of why we should vote for him, and he'll go right down the aisle then. After that, we'll have some questions. What's that? Well, we decided to move to 10. All right, is that good?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And then when we finish, we'll build questions. Carla will take this side of the room, and Terry will take that side of the room, and we will hold the mic. Only because if we don't hold the mic, people will wind up talking a long time, and it's harder to get moved through everything. So that's how it will work. And we're going to start now with Carlos, and I'm going to sit down while they give us the narrative. So,
my name is Carlos Zamora. I've been living here for the past 6 years. Thank you, my neighbors over there. Great fans of each other. You know, I love this place. My wife and I told the story to so many people that when we first got married, we were planning our honeymoon. And my lovely wife said, you know, how about instead of doing the usual honeymoon to Hawaii or the Caribbean, you know, I got this trip. Let's go whitewater rafting down the Salmon River. And we did it. 5 beautiful days and 4 nights. Fell in love with the place. And here we are, you know, 29 years later, we come back here. What do I do for a living? I run on the head of asset liability management and global markets for a Middle Eastern bank based in Washington, D.C. As you can imagine, this has been sort of a busy week, especially Sunday night into Monday, especially the last couple nights, you know, when I get called from Abu Dhabi to see what we can do here in the U.S. I mean, it's let me put it this way, it's been a stressful week for not only our nation and Israel, but for our Middle Eastern partners. This war is going to affect a lot of markets. It's already has. You can see it in every time you put to the pump. And unfortunately, I'm sort of the bearer of bad news. It's going to get worse before it gets better. That part of the world has been in the cross eyes for 80 years and will continue to be, and we've seen many cycles where this has happened, and it will probably continue. The good news is that you're taking basically Iran out of the mix. Speaking in terms of the UAE, which is a U.S. ally, they couldn't be happier that this has happened. They basically stated not to stay out of the way. Eventually they are involved. There have been casualties in the UAE, unfortunately. Anyway, leading back to why I'm running. I've been in the financial industry for 40 plus years. Like I mentioned before, I've been running asset liability management at this institution for the past 10 years. I've seen many interest rate cycles. I've seen, you know, I started my career in 1981 when I was a money market trader with Lehman Brothers, and interest rates were at 20%. I don't think it's going to get to that point, but interest rate cycles do come and go. But I've accumulated a fair amount of expertise in different interest rate environments, and we're going to do one currently. Interest rates are going to go higher initially. And that's going to have multiple effects into our economy. I think my expertise, especially when it comes to doing basically running a balance sheet, is going to come in handy in the next 2 years, 3 years, as the economic environment is going to be a challenge for raising revenues for our county. We all want to be taxed less. I think that's going to be an issue going forward, especially with the growth that this county's had over the past. I mean, we witness it every day. For the past 6 years, this county's grown extremely fast, and that puts a stress on budgets. The county only has certain ways of raising revenues. And the treasurer's office, especially under Steve, my colleague here, have done a fabulous job, and I want to continue that and expand on that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I'll leave my lovely friend over here.
This is a test.
All right, can you guys hear me? Breaker, 19. Okay, good morning. My name is Teresa Mallory, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to meet with you all. I am running for Kootenai County Treasurer. For nearly 2 decades, I've had the privilege of working inside the Treasurer's office, helping safeguard taxpayer dollars that keep our county running. That experience is what has led me to step forward and run for this position. It's truly an honor to be in a room with people who care about local government and the future of our community. Local government is where our decisions directly affect our families, our businesses, and our neighborhoods. Strong communities depend on citizens who stay informed, engaged, and willing to step forward to serve. I was raised in Rathdrum, Idaho, by my 2 wonderful parents, Dell and Diane Williams, and I grew up in Rathdrum when it was still considered small. We all know that it's actually quite a bit larger now. Back then, we used to know our neighbors, and we looked out for one another. My childhood was filled with riding bikes, with friends, and swimming in Lower Twin Lakes, and even riding my horse in the Rathdrum Bay Parade. Growing up in that kind of community teaches you something important. When someone entrusts you with something that belongs to them, you take care of it. That sense of responsibility is the same principle that guides public service. I graduated from Falls Christian Academy, a K-12 school, where I had the opportunity to mentor younger students and serve as captain of the volleyball, basketball, and softball teams. Those experiences taught me leadership, accountability, teamwork, and the importance of doing the right thing even when it isn't the easy thing to do. Now, when I say I grew up in church, I literally grew up in church. The same church that I attended Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday youth group was the exact same building I attended school in Monday through Friday, and a lot of Saturdays too. Lots of practices, lots of youth events. I was there all the time. I love that part of my life. It helped build in me who I am. It introduced me to my faith. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. After I graduated, I attended North Iowa College and later earned my associate's degree from Walla Walla Community College. Life took me to Lewiston and Clarkson Valley for a short time, about 13 years, where I raised 2 wonderful children who happen to be wonderful adults now as well. Later, after returning home to Kootenai County, I managed office operations and financial tracking for a company performing fuels reduction for the U.S. Forest Service. These were very large, multi-million-dollar contracts with the U.S. Forest Service that required strict documentation, accurate billing, and careful financial accountability. Then one day I saw an opening for the Kootenai County Treasurer's Office. I applied, I was hired, and that decision has forever changed my life. I now have served in the Treasurer's Office for nearly 2 decades. During that time, I've gained a deep understanding of how critical this office is to taxpayers of Kootenai County. Each year, our office is responsible for collecting and distributing nearly $250 million in property taxes. That's represented in 96,000 parcels. Those funds support schools, fire districts, roads, and other essential services throughout our community. That work requires accuracy, transparency, and a disciplined, conservative approach to financial stewardship. Before I decided to run for Kootenai County Treasurer, I asked myself two important questions. First, if not you, then who? After all my time spent within the Treasurer's office, I realized the experience and institutional knowledge that I've gained could help ensure stability, continuity, and responsible financial management for our growing county. The second question was whether I was willing to step forward into an elected leadership role. Public service means standing up when your experience is needed. And I believe Kootenai County deserves a treasurer who's prepared on day one, understands the systems, and respects the responsibility of managing taxpayer dollars. So my answer was yes. I'm ready to serve, I'm ready to lead, and I'm committed to protecting the trust of taxpayers right here in this office. Because at the end of the day, the money we manage isn't government money. It's the people's money. It's your money. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to the rest of this event.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Allison Knapp. Kootenai County is home for me. I was born and raised here. I raised my family here. And now I'm running for Kootenai County Assessor. I'm running because I actually know how to do this job. I've done the work in the real world for a long time. I've been an appraiser here in our county for 30 years. I'm a certified residential appraiser with expertise in both fee simple and mass appraisal. There's a big difference between knowing the office and knowing the field, and I've done both. I'm still out there every month, measuring houses, crawling under double wides, climbing into attics, because accurate values come from seeing properties with your own eyes. I'm also a realtor. This is my 15th year with Windermere, so I see the market up close every day. I understand what's happening in our market, what's changed over time. We have had a lot of change, and how those impacts our values. I've also been the chief deputy assessor, so I know how this office should run. I know the workflow, the timelines, and the appeals process, and truly how to treat taxpayers with respect. The bottom line is I'm running on experience and results. I'm steady, I'm fair, and I have an efficient plan that's fiscally responsible and focused on taxpayers. So I'm excited to hear your questions today, and I'm actually happy to geek out with anybody who wants to know how values are actually determined. Thank you.
I'm just going to stand. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Bela Kovacs. I'm the current Kootenai County Assessor. I was appointed in the middle of COVID on May 20th, 2020. There's been a lot of changes in our county, as we all know. I'm honored to serve as County Assessor. I'm running for re-election because I know that I can do the job, and I've been doing the job. and I am very deeply committed to Kootenai County. My family and I have called Kootenai County our home for more than 27 years. And serving this community is deeply important to me and personal. I've been your assessor since May 2020, like I said. My goal has always been simple: to advocate for low, accurate, and fair property assessments. I believe government should be honest, transparent, and respectful to the people it serves. That means protecting taxpayers and keeping property taxes as low as possible while still being accurate and fair. Every property owner deserves to know that they're being treated equally under the law, without favoritism, without special interest, or without politics. During my time in the office, we have focused on improving the 3 pillars, and every assessor office is made up of 3 pillars: people, systems, and data. We work with data, we collect data, we compile data, we then employ processes, business processes, work processes, methodology, and we use computers. One of the biggest challenges that I inherited was an outdated computer system that produced tens of thousands of errors every year. Over the past few years, we worked hard to fix those problems, to streamline processes, to automate, and to bring Kootenai County back into alignment with what I call the Idaho standard. And that is the way that the Idaho State Tax Commission and the other counties throughout the state of Idaho use the system and their processes. In 2023, we launched a program to fix the computer system and to reduce those errors. We succeeded. At the end of the year of 2023, I apologize, we implemented that in 24, at the end of 2024. And we had great success. I have accolades that I received from the IT director on how well that went. In the early part of 2024, we also implemented Project Simpatico. It's a project code word that I use to actually realign the computer system according to the Idaho standard and the way the Idaho State Tax Commission does things. That program is on its way. It's a multi-phased, multi-stage project that we are not yet complete with. We are in the stages of testing it now, and we hope to get that completed for this year's property roll. Once we've done that, that will enable us to align with the other counties and the State Tax Commission, because the entire state is now in process of migrating to a completely new computer system. We hope to do that along with them. So Simpatico will prepare and pave the way for that. My commitment to you is grounded in Idaho values: respect for private property rights, responsible government, and transparent service to the public. We have strengthened protections for property owners. We've improved online access to information. One of the things I want to do is I feel like we need to present to the public information so that people know when we're going to be in your neighborhood, when we have staff there and doing the work. I have not yet completed that yet, but my plan is to put that on our website. I bring more than 40 years of valuation experience as a purchasing director, the former purchasing director for Spokane County. I was involved in valuing commercial projects, residential projects. Surprisingly, the county owns residential properties. And that's just a part of competitive bidding and competitive process, is to know what the values are. So that's a part of the equation. My wife and I have been married for 41 years. We are blessed with 12 children and 25 grandchildren. We are deeply rooted in Kootenai County. And should I be honored to continue serving as your advocate, I would be very much appreciated, and I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
And Carlos, since we changed rules in midstream, if you want to get up here and say a few words, you can finish it out. You're good. All right, with that, then we're gonna take the microphones, we're gonna ask questions, and I will leave this one up here for you all to answer. Does anybody have any questions? I do. Summer has a question.
So I just want to say, don't take it from me. Don't try to take it from me.
Get to the inside.
Summer.
This is for the treasure people. It's a two-parter. What is your opinion of the county owning physical silver or gold? And what is your opinion on Bitcoin and stablecoin type thingies? That's it.
That is way too risky. You're talking about four of the most volatile products, financial products in the marketplace right now. You're talking about financial stability, right? So the last thing you want to let's take Bitcoin. See what the volatility has been today? Yeah. I mean, any type of product that is speculative in nature, or some people use it as an investment vehicle. In this environment, like my colleague mentioned here, financial stability and security of your tax dollars is a priority of every treasurer. And that's basically what I do also. I do run a balance sheet. It's pretty active, but I'm guided by certain principles that my job is to minimize risk. If I can add revenue to my balance sheet, perfect. But that's way too risky. You're talking about, gold was down 85 bucks today. That's my answer.
Good answer. Good
It is
answer.
a very good answer. Idaho statute, what does Idaho statute allow us to do? That's what it comes down to. That's what drives our decisions. Safety, liquidity, return. Has to be safe. These are your dollars. So, Idaho statute.
This is to anybody who wants to answer. What do you think about replacing the property tax with a local sales tax?
Okay, the question is replacing property tax with a local sales tax. When I held my hand up and took my oath, I swore that I would uphold the current laws of the state of Idaho and the state constitution. So I don't really have an opinion other than to say that we need stable government. You want law enforcement to be there when you need it. You want the schools to work, function, and work and function properly. You want your sewer system to work. All of this costs money. None of this is paid for one time when you buy your house. And so we have to pay the law enforcement officers, they have a salary, so there's ongoing costs. The question is how to generate the revenue. And the other question is, what is the most stable way of generating revenue? Historically, it's been determined that property taxes have been stable. Now, there are other jurisdictions that are changing that and that have eliminated property taxes. I will support whatever the state legislature puts in place. If that means I'm out of the job, then I'm out of the job. But I also share the perspective that a lot of people have, and that is they resent the fact that they have this thing hanging over their head that they could lose their home if they run behind on property taxes. I think we need to take a look at our senior citizens, provide better relief for them. And so there are ways to look at this, and we do have programs that exist for that. So I don't know if I've directly answered your question. I think there are theories out there on how to generate a transaction tax or a sales tax that could in some ways replace property tax. That's way above my pay grade, and I'm willing to support whatever is put in place.
I would agree with Bela, with Mr. Kovacs, that if we went in that direction, you can't really tell the state's income tax where that's gonna land. I mean, or the property, or the sales tax. There's no guarantee on what that is. I think that property taxes are more stable. But I also agree that we do need to find additional programs or get the word out more about the existing programs for senior citizens. It just breaks my heart to hear folks say that I've had my home for 60 years right here on the water, and now I'm gonna lose it. I can't afford the taxes. It absolutely crushes me, and it makes me very, very sad. But, so that's what I'm thinking.
Sales taxes is kind of like, throwing the ball down the field and see if somebody catches it. I'll give you an example. When my lovely wife and I moved out of the city, out of New York City, we went to Connecticut. Connecticut didn't have a sales tax. By the time we left, it was almost 7.5%. So I do agree that property taxes are the most stable source of revenue. I think that every government that I've come across spends way beyond its means. And I think that you have to provide, stable sources of revenue to meet all the demands. And that's a big question that everybody's going to answer here. What are the sources of revenue? Let's take the great state of Washington next door. They passed their budget this week. And guess what they did? They increased spending by 11%. And what did they do to meet that? Well, guess what? They increased the carbon tax, otherwise known as the gasoline tax. You know their gasoline tax is higher than California. So, yeah, sales tax is, you might as well close your eye and try to, hit a dartboard with a dart, because it only goes in one direction, up.
Oh, yeah, that's right, don't touch. Yes, hi, I have two questions. One had to do with what you already alluded to, is the senior citizens, because of the increased value of the property taxes it's really tragic what's happening to them. And so I'm wondering what other ways we can do to generate income that obviates that, so that way they are not in that kind of pressure. The other question I really had was some other states are doing away with property tax completely. What can we, I know this goes to Boise, but how do they generate money if they don't have the property taxes? And what can we do to emulate the same policies? To the world, yes.
Well, what I can say is in the assessor's office, there's not a lot that we can do as far as taxes. We do values, but there are programs for seniors. We have a circuit breaker program, which allows people who are on a limited income to come in and apply to get a discount, and it's a great discount for them. And you're allowed to take your medical costs into consideration with that, because I often hear that people make too much money, but there are things that are taken into consideration. As far as taxes, I think really the only thing the assessor's office can do is be very consistent with our values, make sure that we're within the state tax commission's range, but I think it's really important for us to be closer to that lower end of the range. That way when the market travels up and down, we as taxpayers don't see that bouncing up and down in our tax bills.
I'd like to tag in on that. And so part of the gentleman's question earlier was along the lines of what you're talking about. I think first part of your question is what can we do to generate more revenue? And I think that goes along to the sales tax, or like I mentioned a moment ago, the transactional tax, which would be ways of generating revenue. I think one of the other things is I would encourage everyone to write to their state legislators and their senators, because I like the idea of not an internal revenue, but an external revenue. I'd like to see the people that come and to do some pay to play, because we have a lot of people, a lot of tourists that come here. Now I know that could impact the volume of tourism, but that's a way of generating some revenue. And right now, the way the state laws are on the books is that if you're a city that is a population of 10,000 or more, then you can't qualify and you can't do a tax for like a hotel tax or and I think the state legislature needs to take a look at that. The other thing is we have the tax deferred program, which is something that maybe not too many people know about, and that if you have to qualify for it. If you can't afford your taxes, it's almost like a reverse mortgage, so to speak, but not quite. It is a program where your taxes are deferred, and then upon, when the person passes away, they settle your estate, the state then recovers the funds that way. It's not the best program in the world, but it does help people stay in their homes.
Let me add to that. What about Florida, except for they don't have a property tax, as I understand it, except for perhaps the huge
Influx of people coming from New York to get out of the taxes.
That they do, they have.
They do have a property tax.
Yes, they do.
I've never been to Florida.
Next question over here. This will be an easy one for Carlos. Everybody else told about their families, but you forgot to tell us about yours.
I'm Cuban by birth. I immigrated to this country in 1966 when I was 10 years old. I spent 2 years in Mexico City in exile. And I remember my family and I going to the U.S. Embassy every day so we could get legal papers and so we could come to this great country. I love this country. I mean, my family has a long history of military service. My uncle served in the Bay of Pigs invasion. I don't know if you guys remember the Bay of Pigs invasion. He spent 18 months in Castro's jail, almost died. He lost about 35, no, almost 40% of his body weight. He was an officer in that brigade, and when he was rescued by John Kennedy, he and other officers in that brigade were offered the opportunity to join the U.S. Army, and my uncle did. He did 2 tours of Vietnam, was severely wounded, loved the Army, loved this country, and served with distinction. My nephew was one of the reasons why we moved up here, because he kept, he retired from the Army after 20 years as a helicopter pilot. He kept saying, well, you gotta come to Northern Idaho. And certainly we did in 2019. We bought a house and here we are. So yes, I'm an immigrant. This country's given me the opportunity to do what I've done, successfully for 40 years. It gave me a great family, beautiful wife who's sitting in front, 2 beautiful sons, and and a grandchild. I'm a newbie in that respect. She's 6 months old. The love of my life. I finally got a baby girl after 2 boys. And all of you have had sons. They're a different animal. A very different animal. So we all experience, and granted, knock on wood, they've grown to be 2 great young men. And what can I say? This country it's my country. It's my country. I love it dearly. I love this place. I want to preserve it. I think we all do. We all sit here and we all want to preserve it. Because there's no doubt there's going to be, look at the world outside. It's a dangerous world. And this is a slice of heaven, and I want to keep it.
Amen.
Hello, my name is Lisa Biondo. My question is for Bela. It is regarding the new paragraph that was added to the homeowner's exemption on being able to get people's tax returns information, contact mortgage companies, contact insurance companies. I'm just curious why that was done. What is the outcome that you're looking for that, and then how has the public responded to that?
Well, first of all, I'll take the last part first. The public's been fine with it, been no issues, right? It's basically an extension of the language that was already in the homeowner's exemption all along. And the information was stated generically. It was all information that we need. And so all I'm doing by expanding that is putting a little precision in terms of explaining, as a matter of respect and courtesy to the public, to what kinds of things we're looking at. Because in order for us to make a valid decision, we need information. And so all this simply does is it explains to the population, the public, what we need. The information was run by legal counsel. I reviewed it with legal counsel. I asked legal counsel if it was okay to retain it there, and even asked them to challenge it. And the response I got back was from legal counsel is they actually not only approved it, but they favored it. And so it's been in our application. And that we take a look at improving our documents on an ongoing basis. There have been a lot of law changes. There were changes in the law last year, and so a lot of the changes that drove the updates of the form are attributed to that as well. I believe statutorily, the change in the law last year required driver's license, which that was new language. So those were all the changes that were driven by that.
I think that the property tax is actually not even constitutional, that they take people's property through taxes. And I was just wondering, with the fact that we have cobalt and we've got gems and we've got all kinds of things in our state, and I know that they're owned by the federal government, is there not a way for our state to pursue getting released from that, or the fact that we could start mining and taking that to be something that would offset these other places that you feel that you have to drag money out of people, if our state could actually help us to provide some of that?
So, how many people here were at the legislative town hall last Saturday? So this was a topic that came up, and I believe, if I remember correctly, I wasn't there for the entire town hall, but I believe Tony Vishnesky talked about that a little bit, and I agree with him. But it is a legislative process. It is working with the federal government to release those lands to the public. But I agree with that, and I support that. But I don't know that I have a more extensive answer than that.
Okay, Lori Carlson, and my question is it possible for a county to raise the homeowner's exemption? Because we have such high property values here compared to something like Clearwater County and Idaho County. Is it possible we could do something
That is
here?
not, that is done legislatively, and it is an issue that is brought up almost every year for the last 4 years, because we see the growth in our values. We see, I mean, many of us remember back in the day, I mean, our houses were worth $140,000 and we had a $60,000 homeowner's exemption. It made a big difference. But now when your average sales price is $525,000, $125,000 is not gonna be a big dent in that. So yeah, that's something to bring up to our legislators, and it is an issue that comes up every year in Boise.
I'd like to tag onto that too and say that one of the things we used to have is we used to have indexing of the homeowner's exemption, because inflation and values vary and change. And I don't know the year, I can't remember what year it was that was eliminated, but the state legislature eliminated indexing. I would encourage you, all of you, to stay in touch with your state legislators, your senators, write to them, let them know. It was, I believe, proposed as legislation last year. I don't believe it made it through the House, and it died. But it's something that should come back. Encourage your legislators to index the homeowner's exemption, because that allows that to keep pace. The other thing I want to mention is, a little bit ago, Allison was talking about how when we value property, we need to make sure that we're valuing it as low as we can. We can do that, but the problem is, in 2022, because we were consistently, there's a variation of 10% above or 10% below the market. The market is 100%. And that's really what the law says, we need to be at 100%. If we're consistently valuing at 10% below, or close to 10% below, at like the 92%, and that's historically what we've been doing, then when you have a year like 2021 and 2022, where the values were appreciating rapidly, we had to take huge jumps, and that's when you really impact it and feel it, in order for us to maintain and stay within ratio. And so that's when it's impacted. The key is to keep with the market and stay with the market. Yes, we want to try to be as low as we possibly can, but sometimes you have to end up paying the piper if the market appreciates very rapidly.
Can I respond to that? That actually, did you have a question, Mike? Okay. I didn't say that we want to keep it as low as possible, because if you know how our budget works and how it's applied to our properties, it's actually the budget is applied to the properties equally depending on how your house is valued. So we do have a ratio that is set by the state tax commission every single year, and we need to stay within it. However, our values are supposed to be as of January 1st every single year, not when I'm out there appraising and I see that there's a house that is assessed higher than its current sales price. I mean, I find that curious that we're staying as low as we possibly can. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And I just wanted to say that I believe that the homeowner's exemption amount is being reviewed this year. So fingers crossed.
They wanted double it, our legislative.
Thank you all for coming, and it's great to hear from you. But none of you really have anything to do with taxation. Taxation is set by budgets. Budgets are set by departments, so you can adjust our taxes by controlling your budgets. But we've got $150 million every year that comes through. If that sits in cash in some account somewhere, that makes zero money for us. But if that's sitting in some kind of investment that's returning 6%, that's $9 million that we don't have to pay in taxes. So I'd like to hear from the two treasurer candidates what they would do to make the money that we pay work while we're waiting to spend it.
I know statute 57-1210 tells us that we need to be investing those idle funds. It tells us where we can invest those idle funds. I know currently, I believe that we're looking at, I'll tell you. I think I can. We're looking at about $25 million that we currently have in treasury notes and other U.S. securities. And we also have funds that we are investing with the LGIP, which is the local government investment pool with the state. So we have a significant amount of money in there as well as the DVF. And I take a look at those funds and those balances in our money market, in those other investments, and what we have at the bank every day. And I make a determination how much money can I deploy from the bank and put into those investments. And also because we have to keep the wheels rolling here in the Kootenai County, that how much I need to move and at the perfect time, move it back to the bank so we can, pay for payroll and those type of accounts payables. So, but it's a timing issue, we want to keep it there as long as we can so we get the best return that we can.
I think you got to explore every idle cash, like you said, that doesn't earn anything. It's good to invest it in treasury bonds, but if you look at the treasury curve right now, it's I think you have to go out to the 30-year to basically earn well above 4.25%. 2-year notes are 3.58. Meanwhile, you can buy money market products. You can buy my CDs at 3.80. If anybody wants to buy a CD, First Abu Dhabi CD at 3.80. Please call me tomorrow morning, and I'll be more than glad to write you a Yankee CD. Fully guaranteed by the bank, or AA rated. Not guaranteed by me, of course, but I welcome your funds. I think you got to be aggressive within the limit. I think obviously, like Teresa mentioned, safety is first. You have to look at your cash balances like she mentioned every day, which I do every day. But you got to be wise where you invest the money. I think you got to explore every avenue of return, especially now. Interest rates are up 20 basis points over the last week. Basically inflation is going to look pretty ugly over the next basically the next 2 quarters because of the realities of what's going on, overnight right now. Interest rates are going to come down hard. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I'm sorry if I do, but you're going to get an employment number tomorrow morning, hopefully, and we all know employment has been slowing aggressively, and it's probably going to continue. These are not good news. War is not good news for the economy, especially when you have a region that basically controls about 80%. Let me put it this way, the Gulf of Hormuz, which is obviously one of the reasons you've seen the volatility we've seen over the last week, 80% of the oil that goes to
to the Far East, goes through that 21-mile stretch. That ain't going anywhere.
No.
Even China today, this morning, said there's a red line that's going to be crossed because basically they're starting for energy. Rates are going to go higher. Rates are going to go higher. And this is an opportunity. Unfortunately, what that means is that if this is not resolved within 5 weeks, we're looking at a recession. That ugly word, and especially when it comes to midterms. So the political reality and the financial reality are at crossroads. But, to be honest, please don't, God, please, don't. I love high interest rates. I'm a child of the 80s, I'm a child of the 90s, and a child of the, I love high interest rates because when you're running cash, you make money in a high interest rate environment. Like I said, please don't curse me out. I'm just telling you the realities that I see it over the next 6 months.
This is for the assessor office. As a homeowner, I just pay my tax bill. I don't know a whole lot about it, which is not good, but I don't. I get a timber exemption because I'm on 20 acres and we have over 10 that's active trees, whatever you call it. Can you get more than one tax exemption? Or can you have like either a homeowner's or a timber or an ag? You can have two?
You could have both the timber and.
Well, hot diggity.
Come talk to us.
Okay, so I'm going back to my previous question to Bayla about the homeowner's exemption and that wording that was added, and you said that you're collecting that data. I'm just curious, how does that data have anything to do with the values of our properties?
So, data, I'm not sure what data you're talking about. I recall your question was about the homeowner's exemption application form.
Yeah.
So we don't collect anything, we're not collecting any data or any information until there's a need to. And so one of the things we do every year is we try to prepare for the next year. And so generally towards the end of the last quarter, my staff, all of us, we're looking at everything we can to create a clean slate so that when January 1st, that's the lien date, when January 1st hits, then we have this clean slate, the starting point, so to speak, right? And so my staff will then routinely, beginning around the end of October-ish to early November, begin looking at, say for example, they'll look at to see what, or they've collected throughout the year, they'll look at advertised lists for rental properties, homes that are being rented. And then they'll check our system. Oh, that has a homeowner's exemption, but it's being advertised for rent. And so we send out letters, we send out information. I get contacted every year during the political campaigns, people asking me, does this person have a homeowner's exemption? It happens every year for a lot of candidates. And so when that's all happening is if we see a problem, then we begin to dig deeper. And that's when that release, that document, that homeowner's exemption effectively is the property owner's agreement to release information. And that's when we seek that information.
In the treasurer's office, I'm on the hunt. Every time I pick up a check and I post it, I want to make sure that you have a homeowner's exemption. If I see your check and it has the same address, it matches my system, and you don't have a homeowner's exemption, yeah, I'm going to dig for your phone number and I'm going to call you, and I want to know why. Because if you need to have a homeowner's exemption, you need to come on in, talk to the assessor's office, they'll take care of that for you. That's what we do in our office every day, and we get really excited. Found another one. So.
Can I say something to your question? The state of Idaho has required that we now need an Idaho driver's license in order to get your homeowner's exemption.
Yes.
That means once you live in the house, where before as realtors, we would take you into the assessor's office and have you fill out your homeowner's exemption, or we would even do it at the title company and then take it to the assessor's office and then it would be applied. Now the state is requiring you to get your driver's license. So you're gonna have to live there, you're gonna have to bring proof to them that you live there, your utility bills, all the things. And so, yes, that's the only change that the state has made. It has not been asking us for our mortgage or our insurance. None of that is actually required by the state.
Question for all four of you guys. Would you describe your management experience and your management style?
Sure.
Good question.
My management style is pretty simple. I listen, I set expectations, and I hold you accountable. And that's pretty cut and dry. That's me.
For me, it's a 360 position. Lead with confidence, come alongside the team, support, make sure you're giving them everything that they need so that they can do their job to the best, to the standard of excellence that is deserved and expected by Kootenai County taxpayers. And come along behind them, make sure that I'm supporting them, encouraging them, and training, coaching, whatever's necessary. It's about growing together. So that's my management style.
Teams work best. I lead the team, so I expect the best of each team member, but at the same time, I have their back. We're all in it together, especially in an environment where things change every day. The systems that we deal with are, it's like back to the dinosaurs. So we run a lot of Excel sheets, a lot of spreadsheets to keep what we do every day. And I expect my team to keep those Excel sheets up to date. But at the same time, I have their backs if something goes wrong. We do give them the training, but it's basically hands-on training. The best way to learn is through mistakes. That's the way I learned. It basically wasn't pretty, but it's the way you learn. Believe me, when you're dealing with a multi-million-dollar balance sheet, you make a mistake, it is going to cost you. And that's been mistakes. And people want to take it out. Typical management, they usually look for somebody to fall on. And if you have that person's back, you don't have their trust, there goes the breakdown of the team. So I try to create an atmosphere where everybody's in it together, including myself. I hold those people responsible for their jobs. Basically, at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be, everybody's going to look to. I don't shy away from that. In fact, I kind of thrive on it. It's a Cuban in me, I kind of like mixing it up every once in a while. As my wife probably smiles right here, she probably knows better than anybody. But again, when it comes to working together, a team always goes forward.
Until I became the assessor in my life, my staff at home was larger than any other staff I had anywhere else I worked. And so, raising 12 kids, they're all different. They're just different personalities. I have 7 boys. God bless Monica. I have 5 girls, and they're all different. But it's recognizing who you're dealing with and meeting them where they are. I agree pretty much with everything everybody said here. But it's respect. It's understanding what their needs are, what they're trying to accomplish. It is creating your vision and presenting that to your team and asking for their respectful consideration. Do you agree with this vision? Do you agree with where we're going? Do you agree with the mission? Here are the values. Do you agree with the values? Are our values aligned with achieving the mission? And then how do we go about getting that done? And most importantly, do you have the tools? Do you have the proper tools to get your job done? when I came to Kootenai County, like, as I said before, there's 3 pillars that the assessor's office is made of: people, systems, and data. And the computer system, I met with every individual one-on-one, and I have sincere respect for everything that they told me. Doors closed, tell me what your concerns are, what are the problems. Resoundingly, it was the computer, it was the computer. It came at a tremendous human cost. And so if we could make a positive impact on the people, it's give them a better computer system, give them a better tool. And that's why I focused on that, because it is what creates the process, the manual process. So we had to manually, through blind trial and error, balance all the property rolls every year in a short window of time. It was next to mission impossible. And so we've made some tremendous changes. We've automated the system, and that has created a little bit of disruption. I don't want to cause disruption because it is moving people's cheese. And so unfortunately, there is a certain pain point that you have to go through if you're going to make improvements to the operation. But we've succeeded, and we've got a lot more success in front of us. And so, anyway, my management style, I strayed a little bit, but it's respect for people.
Last question.
We're gonna have 2. We've got Mariana and Leilani. Did you want one? Okay, go ahead, Mariana.
This is quick, it's for Teresa. I think I just heard you say a few moments ago, every time you get a check, you look for exemptions, right? There was a woman in the back just a few minutes ago who seemed to be surprised at an exemption that she's missing. So can you square that for us, please?
When it comes to looking for a homeowner's exemption, it's easy for me to see, because I wouldn't be able to determine whether or not she has applied or has a timber exemption. So if she's missing an exemption, does she have her homeowner's exemption? We don't know. I'll be happy to answer that for you. But that's the type of thing. So I'm looking at payments and I can identify, this seems a little off. I have their check that has the same address, it matches with the property in the system, and they don't have a homeowner's exemption. That does raise a red flag to me, and I'm gonna look into it.
I paid it.